right, hi there. Yes, Blackberry. So reports of our death have been greatly exaggerated. What I'd like to do is God, it is bright here, but what I'd like to do is, I'm going to start off before we get into mobile security and scare the heck out of you about what's going on in that space. Let me just update you on Blackberry. Okay, so Blackberry is in the midst of a huge restart, turnaround right now, if that's what you want to call it. And this is really starting to take hold at the company. So let me just give you some, we've got a new CEO, new management team like myself that's come in over the last 12 months or so. And just some facts, okay? So Blackberry last quarter reported over $3 billion in cash. Okay, it was the first quarter in many, many, many quarters where the company actually increased its cash balance 11 million. It's not a huge number, but it actually went up. So we're at 3.1 billion in cash. The company did about 920 million in revenue last quarter. And so we're very, very much alive. Now, those of you in the audience that have been through a significant turnaround, anybody, or you've had to maybe reduce your budgets a bit, we took out $2 billion in operating expense in the last 12 months, okay? So we've come in and what we've done is we've right-sized the company, we've completely stabilized the cash flow, and now we've moved past that phase, okay? So Blackberry, very much past the phase of, okay, is the company gonna survive? Obviously it is. We're a multi-billion revenue company. We're a multi-billion cash company. Let's move on and start talking about innovation, et cetera. So the company is focused on, and I'm just going through Blackberry because I know there's some of you in the audience like, Blackberry, I used to have one back in the day, right? I think the new Chief Technology Officer, Megan Smith, made this kind of snarky comment recently about Blackberry. So, clearly we're gonna have to update her as well. But we focus on regulated industries. This is really what Blackberry does. It focuses on industries that care about security, financial services, healthcare, government, et cetera. Government has always been far and away our largest regulated industry that we focus on. And the reason is security. Okay, the reason is Blackberry security remains the gold standard in the industry, and it will remain the gold standard in the industry, and I'll take you through why that is. Right now, all the G7 countries are standardized on Blackberry. 16 of the G20 countries are also on Blackberry. Why? Because we have over 70 government certifications and approvals. And these include, we're the first and only end-to-end mobile platform awarded full operational capability to run on DISA networks. We are also NATO approved for restricted communications. That means across all 28 NATO countries, you can share classified confidential information over the Blackberry network. And our entire mobile portfolio, which is devices, but also software, is completely STIG approved. And most importantly, we still make awesome devices. So for those of you who might be a little bit tired of a rectangle, like, do we have enough rectangles? I mean, there's just more and more come out. Blackberry recently took a different approach, and a month ago released a phablet, which is a square. We call it Work Wide, and it's completely focused on what we call power professionals, folks like you, that are just all about being highly productive, getting a ton done fast, being able to see large documents and images very easily on your device, and doing all that incredibly securely. So that is the Passport, which we've had an incredibly hard time stocking enough. We vastly underestimated the interest in this device, which is not a good thing, but it's better than the other problem. And we're selling a lot of these every day. If anybody wants to see one in person, come see me. Okay, so that's enough about Blackberry. So let's talk about just cybercrime, which we all know, you've heard a lot. I mean, it's on the rise. I mean, it's a problem, okay? And the sophistication and the number of attacks has absolutely exploded across our personal lives, our corporate lives, our government lives. I'm just going to give you some statistics that, for me, are a bit mind-boggling. So Symantec recently did, in their Internet Security Threat Report, they estimated that last year in the US, 55 million identities were compromised last year. Okay, so you just think about, okay, that's a lot. We're a country of what, 300 plus million people? That's a lot of identities that were exposed. Consumer breaches, I mean, we just read about them on a weekly basis, right? Target sort of, got our attention. Home Depot, that got our attention. JP Morgan recently reported a major breach. So we're seeing these across, our kind of our normal spheres of our lives. We all heard about the iCloud hack, and you sort of are amused that Jennifer Lawrence thought somehow it was a good idea to do that, and maybe, that stuff got out on the internet, but it gives you pause, and you think, well, how did that happen? What else could happen and get posted like that? I'm going to share with you a video, or actually an audio later, that I think will get everybody's attention. So the bottom line is that I think the assumption that somehow your personal data is secure, I think all of us could agree right now that assumption should just go away. Corporate attacks are absolutely skyrocketing. Before BlackBerry, I ran a cloud applications company. You heard a lot about cloud being, the future is here, et cetera. It's also not, it's got some security issues, as we all know. The company I ran had 11,000 attacks a day. So and that was not abnormal for what is pretty much a mid-sized software company. Last July, WellPoint, which is let's just talk about some examples. They're a healthcare provider, as you know. They were fined $2 million for HIPAA and privacy and security violations. In fact, it's reported recently that 19% of all healthcare facilities have reported last year in the last 12 months that they've been compromised, right? That their systems have been compromised. Retail, we already talked about Target and Home Depot. E-commerce, eBay, recently this didn't get as much attention, but their employee logins were compromised. Okay, so you kind of go, okay, just for their internal employees. It actually provided access to over 233 million of their customers, their personal data, credit card information, et cetera. So these are massive, but they nowhere are near as intense as government. The government is the #1 focus of hackers far and away. Okay, and just some examples there. 40% of cyber incidents reported, these are just the ones that are reported by federal agencies, were just attempts to get access to US networks, get access to agency networks, et cetera. 40% of those cyber incidents is just trying to get behind the firewall and get some information. Just this week, some of you may have read that there's the US Investigation Services, USIS. It's a federal security clearance outsourcer. In other words, this is a company that is actually clearing folks that can work in a federal agency. They got compromised. Okay, so they had reported that had actually gone unnoticed for months, and that 25,000 employees at least at the Homeland Security Department had their information compromised. And you all know about the threats from foreign governments. You want to call it World War III, or whatever world phrase you want to use, but this is a constant source of anxiety for those of us trying to protect these. So that's the scary stuff, and most of you have heard a lot about it before, but it's actually worse than that, because now let's talk about mobility. And you'll hear a lot about the Internet of Things, but let's just focus on this for a second. So there's a massive proliferation of devices, right? So how many of you have more than one mobile device? I mean, how many of you so you've got a mobile device, you've got a laptop, right? You've got a tablet. You've got a medical device, probably, Fitbit. I wore that for a while until it completely annoyed me at how I was never hitting my goal. So, like everybody in Silicon Valley, we like trying the new thing. I do not have my Google glasses, but that one, after a while, I was like, God, just get away from me. That can also be hacked, by the way. It's been shown that the Fitbit can be hacked. So there's this massive proliferation. You can see it behind me. Somebody put up a slide. They said there's going to be 26 billion things by 2020. Cisco says there'll be 50 billion things. Let's just say there's going to be a lot of things that are all going to be attached. Sensors, RFID tags, medical devices, our kids, right? I mean, I saw a presentation of a subcutaneous sensor that you would put on your kids so you can track them on your smartphone. That was interesting. So anyway, so this world is definitely coming, and there are a lot of good things that will come out of that. I mean, we saw this amazing video earlier on how it may help battle major diseases. So this is all happening, but on the other hand, we all know that it's opening up this massive gateway of security risk. I'm not going to focus on the things right now. Let's just focus on mobility. Mobile is, all of us, people used to make, at conferences like this, they would say, oh, if you left your house and you left your wallet and you left your mobile phone, you wouldn't drive out of the driveway, you would go back and you would get your mobile phone. And that seems so antiquated to me now because you would never leave your mobile phone. It's not even a realistic scenario anymore, right? People are sleeping with these things. So I think mobile has become our lifeline in not only for our personal lives, but for our corporate as well. And therefore it is the new gateway for hackers, is our mobile devices. That same Symantec study I referenced earlier, 38% of mobile users in the last 12 months have experienced some form of cybercrime. So that's close to 4 out of 10 of us are saying, yeah, something's been compromised on my phone. This is the one that I think is the most interesting. Trend Micro looks at all the mobile applications. There are about 1 billion now, right? 300,000 of those applications that you guys download, that I download, that we all love and enjoy, that 300,000 of those are considered outright malicious. In other words, they're literally built to get access to data on your phone, to deliberately leak data. So they estimate 300,000 of those are outright malicious and 150,000 which they categorize as high risk. It's amazing how many companies, entities, government agencies do not secure those apps, and I'll talk about that in a second. And so I think we all acknowledge that mobile, everybody in this room that works in IT in a federal agency, which is probably many of you, you're forced to open up access to mobile. You have to. In fact, you're proud of what you're doing to try to provide access on iOS devices, Android devices, Blackberry devices, et cetera. But it's interesting to me that 50%, less than 50% of you actually consider mobile security specifically as part of that rollout. It's more just about access, providing access. So we need to think about that. What I'm talking about gets even more intense when you've heard of the expression BYOD, bring your own device, not BYOB. But bring your own, you can do both, but bring your own device. This one is, creating more and more problems because those are not secure devices. But people come in and say, hey, I've got the new iPhone 6, I've got the new I want to get access, please give me that access. So mobility is the next frontier. And really what I want to talk about is, let's practically talk about what you can do about it. Okay, I think there's been a lot of discussion about crimes on the rise, perimeters are exposed, lots of scary expressions. What can you actually do today with technologies that are mature that you can use, okay? That are not massively expensive and actually you could afford within your existing budgets. So the first one is you need what's called a mobile management platform. It's really literally what it is a platform that helps you see all the devices that come into your environment, know who has access to what information on those devices, be able to update those devices as needed, okay? And be able to basically see what is going on and secure what is going on. This is like the basic, premise of managing that perimeter that we've talked about. Without that, you literally do have the wild, wild west, and you literally are exposed to a lot of the risks that I talked about earlier. This is probably the most important one. You have to have a mobile application strategy, okay? In its simplest form, you have a secure space for apps that are literally encrypted, secured, and provide access to the most important applications in your environment. These are whatever agency you're part of, whatever company that you say, my employees must get access to this. I'll use one example. At BlackBerry, we use Workday. Some of you may have heard of it for our HR information. That would be one of those applications. It has a special part in your device called Secure Workspace. It looks the same on your device. It's those icons, you push it, now you're into an app. But it's secured and it's completely wrapped and containerized within the platform. Then you have another part of it, which is your personal applications, Instagram, whatever you're addicted to, right? Candy Crush, and those are not going through the same process that I talked about earlier, but they're there. So your customers, consumers get what you want. All our devices are completely blended personal, professional devices now. That's already happened. So this is really key that you separate. If you're not separating those two, and you're literally just enabling a work application to show up on that device, you got an issue. I mean, that could easily be hacked, right? That could easily be hacked. So that's one. The next one is messaging. So, I mean, I'm sure if I asked of you, how many of you text message, you'd be like, okay, I text a lot, but more and more of us are just doing mobile messaging through services like ours called BBM or Snapchat or these other messaging services that have just absolutely exploded, that we're all doing a lot more than voice, right? And these are not secure. They're not encrypted. Remember, people used to, we finally realized email wasn't secure. Like whenever somebody works, we say, before you hit enter, just realize that could go to the entire planet, right? Then we thought text was secure. Somehow text was different. Text is not different, right? Text is the exact same situation. You could literally, that could just go anywhere. These are the same things. So we take a very, I mean, at BlackBerry, we have a service called BBM, and it's completely encrypted, right? So when it goes through our network, that is an encrypted, quote unquote, text message, but that's just one example of what you need to do. If you don't have a strategy for messaging, that app, let's just call it the messaging app, is probably the most prominent and most insecure app that you would have. Okay, so how many of you think voice is secure? It's okay. I thought it was. I always thought if I really wanted to do something private, something really important, I'm gonna call, right? I'm not gonna email, I'm not gonna text, I'm not gonna do that. It's voice, right? It's just me talking to somebody. I hate to bring you down, but voice it's a digital signature, right? It's something that is not secure. Let me just give you one government example. So I'm gonna play a voice call for you, just a little snippet of it, that was posted on YouTube recently. It's a phone conversation between Victoria Nuland, who's the State Department's top official for Europe, and she is talking to the US ambassador to Ukraine, and they're actually talking about how they can drive a deal with the European Union, with NATO, et cetera, to try to avert the Ukrainian crisis. She's a little ticked off about some stuff that's going on, and let's see if we can hear
He's
this.
now gotten both Sari and Ban Ki-moon to agree that Sari could come in Monday or Tuesday.
Okay.
So that would be great, I think, to help glue this thing and have the UN help glue it. And, you know, the EU.
No, exactly. And I think we've got to do something to make it stick together because
It goes on and on. The bleep was not a very nice word. So I mean, this is at the highest levels of government. Now, what happened is somebody hacked their phone call and just posted it on YouTube. It's still not really clear where that came from. So the US immediately said, oh, it was the Russians, and they got in and they hacked it. Nobody really knows. But it kind of dramatically brings forth that voice conversations are just as insecure, and increasingly so. People have realized that a lot of us think that that's a secure thing. Most phone calls, I don't want to hear them. I mean, I hear them on airplanes. I wish people weren't having them. But right, this is where we think our most secure and confidential information is being shared. But we need to be careful about that. So how does BlackBerry? By the way, BlackBerry has been innovating around security for forever, and we recently acquired a company that actually encrypts voice. So if I'm on my passport and I'm about to make a phone call, there's a drop down and it says go secure. Click, everything I say is scrambled, okay, at that point. So this is something that we think is going to become increasingly important. And then some of those calls you say, I don't need to do that. I wouldn't want to, just go normal, right? But these type technologies are there and they're starting to be used more and more. So the way that we go about this is we do have a mobile management platform. We've specialized in that for years and years and years. Some of you may use it. It's called the BlackBerry Enterprise Server, known as BES. And that really is the foundation for managing BlackBerry devices, iOS devices, Android devices, Windows devices. We don't only deal with BlackBerry, okay? So we'll just deal with the reality of the perimeter, and we secure it through our server. We also have our our software stack, which basically secures all the applications that I talked about. It's very easy to do. I can demonstrate that for folks if you'd like to see. You swipe, I'm in my secure space of apps. Swipe, I'm in my personal space of apps. And our devices, we're very focused on what I call the power professional and coming out with very select devices. We are not in the business of, hey, we're going to come out with some broad-based consumer device and fight that war. We're very about the power professional. You want to be highly productive. You want to get a lot done. You want it to be done securely. You're probably looking at PowerPoint. You're probably looking at a lot of different documents or images. You need to see them. And those are the devices that we're going to have. We're going to be announcing a new device called Blackberry Classic. So for those of you that might have used a Bold or a Classic back in the day, it's a completely updated version of that brings a lot of what I've just been talking about to the fore. That'll be announced as well. And so we're focused on the platform space, we're focused on the device space, and we also have our BBM messaging service, which is completely encrypted. It has all those things you know and love, like a time bomb on your messages. It'll literally just go away. And also, you can actually retract a message as well. And I can demonstrate that if you would like. So with that, I'm going to wrap up and just remind everybody that I think we all know security risks are increasing. Mobile is kind of the new perimeter for that. Government agencies are definitely the most targeted of all these spaces, but there are some very simple things you can do, from a mobile management platform to just thinking about your apps and thinking about messaging. Those three layers are really areas that you can attack, and there's technologies like what we have that can help you. Thank you very much.